Let's bring in former South Carolina Congressman Trey Gowdy. He is the former chairman of the House Oversight Committee and a Fox News contributor. We just saw you there in that line of questioning, Trey, asking what you asked then, hearing the answers that you heard then, and knowing what you know now. What conclusions are you able to draw?
That we need some serious reforms to our surveillance programs. If you can have this number of people request that an American citizen's name be unmasked. I mean, that's a really big deal. I mean, we have these surveillance programs that allow collection on American citizens. You're supposed to safeguard their identity. But Sandra, it's not just Michael Flynn. There was an unmasking request made the morning of the inauguration. The morning of the inauguration. President Trump's family members' names were unmasked. So that needs to be reformed. But you also have a really nice witness list to start investigating the leak of classified information. And I'd be curious how many people on this unmasking list have been interviewed by the FBI over the leak.
Trey, the American people hear what you are saying today. We had Katie McFarland, Flynn's former deputy, on this same time yesterday morning. She made her case as to why she believes Michael Flynn, and others were framed. Her big questions are who knew what and when they knew it. If indeed these requests were made for reasons other than national security, what accountability should there be and would there be, Trey?
Well, I think there are three groups that provide accountability. Number one, folks in your line of work. And the D.C. media, not only did they not cover the unmasking story in 2017, they pilloried Devin Nunes, who tried to uncover it. But the voters provide oversight. Sandra, I mean, if this is the country you want to live in, where you can target your political opponents and their family members up to the day they take the oath of office, that's just not the country I want to live in. So, and then there's the law enforcement. I mean, unmasking a name is an abuse of power. Disseminating that name to the Washington Post is a 10-year felony.
Well, there's a lot we know. As John Roberts pointed out there at the White House, there's a lot we don't know at this point. Joe Biden, in that new interview on GMA, he's pushing back on all of it, said he didn't know any of this was going on. Here's Joe Biden.
I know nothing about those moves to investigate Michael Flynn, number one. Number two, this is all about diversion. This is a game this guy plays all the time. The country is in crisis. We're in an economic crisis, a health crisis. We're in real trouble. He should stop trying to always divert attention from the real concerns of the American people. The American people are worried with good reason.
All right. So did you hear Joe Biden there in that new interview?
I did. That is the longest coherent sentence I've heard him utter. Well, Vice President Biden, how many other unmasking requests did you make? You know, he makes one on January the 12th. If he's that concerned about national security, how many other unmasking requests did you make when you were the Vice President of the United States? I'll bet it wasn't very many. I mean, Samantha Power did them on a weekly basis. How many did Joe Biden do? I mean, we know he did Michael Flynn a week after the White House meeting. If you're that concerned about Russia and you know, national security, how many other unmasking requests did you make, Vice President Biden?
Now to the judge on this case, Judge Sullivan, of course, bringing on another judge to argue against the DOJ's call to dismiss the case. The Washington Post op-ed earlier this week on that. The Flynn case isn't over until the judge says it's over. Trey, I want to get your response to this. There has been nothing regular about the department's effort to dismiss the Flynn case. The record reeks of improper political influence. The department now says it cannot prove its case, but Flynn had already admitted his guilt to lying to the FBI, and the court had accepted his plea. So what do you make of this other judge that is taking on this case, who has openly spoken against the Trump administration's handling previously of the Flynn case, Trey?
Sandra, I was in the criminal justice system for about 20 years. I've never seen anything like this before in my life. I mean, judges don't prosecute cases. So, you know, this judge may talk about perjury, but he's going to need to resign his job and go back to a United States Attorney's office if he wants to prosecute perjury cases. Lots of defendants move to undo their pleas. Lots of defendants move to withdraw their pleas. You don't have a special master appointed to investigate them. Judges do have the power to control their courtroom. There's no question about that. You can't you can't yell, you can't start fights. You do have the power to control your courtroom, but I have never seen anything like what Judge Sullivan is doing. And if you're going to pick someone to look into it, don't pick someone who's already made up his mind that Bill Barr made a mistake. I mean, you talk about bias, you talk about prejudice. The person he's picked has already expressed an opinion on the outcome of this case. Never in 20 years have I seen a judge do something like this.
Trey, in the 20 seconds or so that I have left, the American people hear all this. They have so many questions as well. What is the end game here? Do we ultimately get to the bottom of all this?
I hope so. The end game is to have a justice system that everyone in this country respects and that is worthy of respect. And it's been a miserable 4 years for the FBI in particular, but also the Department of Justice. God bless Bill Barr for trying to correct it, despite all the headwinds from the Democrats and the D.C. media. We got to have a better Justice Department.
Trey Gowdy, appreciate your time this morning. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.